We share your life and home.
But have you ever wondered what is life like to us, migrant domestic workers here in Singapore?
In Singapore, there are about 240,000 migrant domestic workers. These women come from countries like Indonesia, the Philippines, Myanmar, and India, where they leave their own families behind to come here and look after those of others. Local charity Home aims to empower migrant workers, and one way to do that is to give them a platform to share their stories. When the volunteers teach writing workshop with migrant domestic workers, we want to get to know them, understand their feelings. We like to brainstorm about concepts that touch us all, home, love and dreams. But we also write about the past that shaped us, the problems and hurdles that we encountered. The book Our Homes, Our Stories offers a look through their eyes as they share their real-life stories. Let's listen to some of the writers sharing their stories.
Every time I transfer to another employer, I always worry about how I'm going to get along with a new family. It is not easy for us domestic workers to transfer because we are a stranger moving into a family. We need to build up trust again. Leaving a family is also difficult. As domestic workers, we easily get attached to the family we work with, especially to the children.
Leaving my children for a job in a foreign land was the toughest and most heartbreaking decision I ever made. They were at an age where they really needed my care. My youngest son was barely a month old when I left him. After I gave birth, I cried every night, thinking about having to leave him. I worked for a family of four and stayed in a three-story house. This helped too because I was so busy my mind was too occupied to think much about home. Finding it hard does not mean you are failing. That is a fact I always need to remind myself of.
I landed in this foreign land of Singapore in August 2007. Coming out of the airport, I was stunned straight away by the beauty of the place. But the thing that nearly made me faint was when I heard I was going to have no salary for the first 6 months working here. It was going to be deducted to pay the agency. I had no idea about this.
And closing my eyes, I bring up memories from my former real life. I remember my beautiful village, our family farm, where we plant coffee beans, bananas, and coconut to make our daily livings. We have durian trees as well. Working for the home help desk has made me realize I have a big dream. Helping others helped me to help myself. It gives me a purpose in life. I didn't know anything about the domestic worker right before, but now I want to speak up and share their voices.
Being a domestic worker has never been in my dream. But what I like about being a domestic worker is that doing challenging work has taught me that I am able to survive in different life in a strange country without my family beside me. During those long hours of work, I started to have a dream and started planning for a better future. I am saving my salary and using the little spare time that I have to study to invest myself and my future. Being a domestic worker made this thing all possible.
My great passion is being a teacher, and now I dedicated my life to sharing those lessons I have learned with others. And this is my story. In the Philippines, we live in a simple house which my father made for us, and it is made of wood. But throughout our efforts, we make it now a concrete one to protect us from the typhoon. No matter how much I have become accustomed to life in Singapore, there's no place like home. I really love my country. But the saddest part of my life is that by working in Singapore for all those years, taking care of all those families. I never had a chance to make a family of my own. If my father had still been alive, I would never have left my country. I would have been content and happy with my life in the Philippines. I would have earned less as a teacher, but I would have the freedom to do what I wanted and to have less stress. Freedom and happiness are priceless. Loneliness and sacrifice will be asked of you when you work abroad, especially if you're a domestic worker.
As domestic workers, it is very important that we communicate with our employers. I know it is not easy to do, but that is the only way to balance our situation and solve our problems at work. It is important for our employers to know how we feel. They only know how we feel if we tell them.
Did you like writing your story? How did it make you feel?
Uh, yes, I love writing my story. It feels so good sharing my stories with my fellow domestic workers because I can feel that they will learn from it.
And did you learn something yourself from working on this project?
I've learned a lot writing my stories because it brought me back to my old experiences, and writing it made me improve some of it and uh, how to im-
To deal with it, to cope with it?
how to deal with my future problems with my work and employers.
Who do you hope will read the book?
I hope that both employers and domestic workers can read the books because for domestic workers, they can learn from our experiences. They can learn how to cope with their problems, and for the employers, they will see the real stories of every domestic workers because this is the reality. This is raw stories of us.
Do you have a message that you want to convey to people? What is the one big message that you want to share?
I always tell people, especially to the employers, to be nice to us. That's always my word. Be nice to us domestic workers because we are human beings. We are nice people. We came here prepared that we have to treat our employers really nice, really good. So that's our message. Actually, this book's message is to know us really well.
Why do you think home is important to domestic workers?
Home organization is very important to every domestic workers because home help us a lot. Home give us advices. Home back us up. Home is where every domestic worker should go when they're having problems.
Did you like writing your story? How did it make you feel?
Oh yes, I like writing my own story, and it feels great to share my own story to anybody, especially my fellow OFW.
And do you think a book like this can help employers to understand domestic workers better?
Yes,
And in what way?
they will understand our pain and how to treat us fairly in working.
Okay, what is the main message of your story that you want to come across?
Oh, the main message for my story is don't walk away with God.
Don't walk
And
away with guys. Can you say
God.
that again? Oh, what's that?
God.
Oh, don't walk away from
Don't
God.
walk away.
I do like writing my story, and knowing that it will be published and it will gonna be in the book, I feel excited and overwhelmed about it.
Did you learn anything from writing your story?
Yes, I did learn it. Some things in writing my story. I overcame my fears and those failures, pains, and struggles. I was able to overcome all those things. So now I'm happily writing about my story. I hope and I wish everyone will read about this book, especially those employers,
Because
especially those employers who are not so kind to their helpers. That at least they can try to treat their helpers fair and just, because we are human beings too, like them.
And tell me about your employers, because your story had, I think, one of the few stories that actually had something about the employers. The kids of your employer already wrote something to you, remember?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
The eldest one, if it's a girl, she wrote about how kind I am to them, that she doesn't know what they're gonna do if not I'm not around, that she loves my pastas.
So what is it like to raise the children from your employer and not be able to raise your own children?
It's kind of sad. It it feels pain sometimes, especially when these two kids are like having some moment with me. I can't help it not to think about my children.
Yes.
Important message is like, no matter how hard the situation is, if you believe in positivity, with prayers, everything will go fine.
Did you like writing your story, and how did it make you feel?
Of course, writing story is awesome. I mean, when you write a story, you can put everything, all your feelings, all your stories for other people to read. Because sometimes when you telling somebody about your story directly, it's too much emotional. So I think writing story is a good idea.
Yes.
To tell people about you, about your future, about your plan, about your life story from the past and the present. I think yes, I feel so great.
So who do you hope is going to read your story?
I mean, okay, for my story is general, so I hope every woman, this is the positive, motivated story, and especially, of course, especially the domestic worker in Singapore, to let them know that to work in Singapore, it is not about the scary feeling, about the hard life, but working in Singapore is a challenge.
What do you think is the most important message?
All right, okay. Being a domestic worker isn't so bad at all, but it's a challenging you as a woman. You know why? Because as only a strong woman like you, like me, like them, they have a courage to leave their families, to work, to earn the money, to have a better future for herself and for their family, especially to those who has a children, to those who are single mom. Yes, this story is strongly motivated for them to be a strong woman as a domestic worker.
Because you had to leave home when your mother was ill?
Yes, my mother was ill, yes.
And so how
I
does...
have 4 siblings, younger sister, yes.
And so
I
how does
cry
it make-
when I look at
yeah.
my parents. Life is so hard and I feel life is so unfair. I have 4 siblings, they're all young, and I am second elder. And when I look at my father, I think I feel helpless because I'm just a girl. I'm just a small girl. Because in my village, normally young girl, we don't do much, only for boy, which is son. But because my parents don't have son, so I look at myself, that maybe it's me. I am the one. Because it's my family, my responsibility to help them, to support them for income. And when I look at my mom, yes, it's me. I have to do it. And when I think of that, and what I have to see now, I feel so grateful. I feel glad that the choice that I made it last time was the perfect choice. Yes.
Okay, and do you feel like other people are going to learn from your story?
Hopefully, yes.
And who do you think will read it and will learn from it?
Basically, for reading is, I hope everyone can read, especially employer and domestic worker. But who will learn about that is the most is domestic worker itself. So they will learn from my story, then will motivate them to speak up for themselves. Then they will know their rights.
Okay, and what about employers? Do you think it could help them in treating their own domestic workers better after they read this book and the stories inside?
Hopefully, yes, because they will understand that we are worker, but we are also human. So most employer also should know about this.
Why do you think an organization like Home and a help desk is very important in Singapore?
Yeah, because as a foreign domestic worker, we cannot form a union in Singapore. So if we have something to speak up, we have we have to we have to be under NGO and registered NGO. It is only the only place we can voice out. Then they will speak up for us.
What is the most important message that you want to bring across with your story?
The important message is about know your right to domestic worker, and also that is it's like if we know our right and we can help others, it will motivate them to have a better life. Like about my story also, I tell about my former life, and so whatever we have in the past, even it is bad, a bad experience, I mean, but we have to live up our life and positive thinking to go forwards.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, I love my story. I like to write because I want to show the world what my life is, what I've gone through, and what did I do to help those migrants, and how through my story and whatever I write, it could help them also, and or they have idea what is the life really of domestic worker. I think the biggest message of my story is I suffered a lot, and then but I want to show that there's a, after all the suffering, there is a good one also, and also I want to show Singapore or around the world that domestic worker are also not all only doing housework thing, but also doing lots of things to help other people, to like educating them.
So in your case, how are you educating other people?
Yeah, I educate the migrants or not only domestic worker through financial education, not to work abroad too long, so that to be with their loved ones, and also giving education about health issues, which they will be aware of what they are doing, so that also before they could do a thing, they will think first.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you say that you should not be here very long as a domestic worker, but you have been here very long, haven't you?
Yeah.
Do you see yourself going back home?
Yeah, I was planning actually to go home for quite some times now, because my first mission why I'm here is to help my siblings for their education, to build a nice house for my family, and also to pay our debts. My father was sick, but after all, home was giving me a lot of opportunities to learn a lot of things, which I give back everything also what I have learned.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and you do it very well, because you teach at the Home Academy, right?
Also,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Very good. And what is the best financial advice that you can give any domestic worker?
Oh, yeah, I think the biggest thing that really every domestic worker have to do is really to watch what they spend, and also save really at least 10% of their salary, and not to work too long, so that they could be to be with their loved ones, and so that the family will not be broken up, because the first the first problem of the separation or broken family and all the problems with their family is prolonged separation, because the mother was not there.
Mm-hmm. Because what would happen if the mother is not there? What are the chances for the children?
Yeah, the first thing is the husband will go somewhere. The second thing, mother is different when they take care of the children compared to the grandparents or aunts. So she could take care of his children in school, disciplining them, and really to show their love as a mother. It's
Yeah.
different.
Yes.
Did you tell your employer about the book? How do they feel about you being part of this project?
Yes, I did tell them, and they were so excited about it. My employers are very supportive about in everything I do.
Oh yes, they're so excited about this book.
Yes, they know about the book.
And what did they say?
They were happy.
Yeah?
They're looking forward having a copy of it.
Yes, I did.
And
And
what
they
is-
were so excited. They want to know more about my story, especially from the past. Well, I told them that I've been working for 3 different families before them, and they were so excited to know more about my stories. Yeah.
In Singapore, there are about 240,000 migrant domestic workers. Giving them words and a blank page to write their stories on empowers them with a new dignity and strength. They have a voice that is waiting for someone to listen.
In the book Our Homes, Our Stories, domestic workers in Singapore will share their personal thoughts, dreams, and hope for the future. Would you like to know more about these women who leave their countries to work in Singapore? Please buy the book. All the proceeds of the book go to home. Thank you.